G'day everyone. My name's Craig Smith. I'm an Assistant Director with the Australian Public Service Commission, and this is my colleague Tarania works with us in the graduate program management team, the career pathways team, and is a former graduate herself. She's going to add some real life experience and value to the presentation today. So I'll just move across to share my screen so we can just step through a bit of a presentation. Okay, Sam, is that coming through okay? Yep, thumbs up. Okay, we'll crack on. So what is the Australian Government Graduate Program? As you can see there, plenty of options to find your fit. There we go. So for us, what we focus on, the Australian Government Graduate Program, it represents a coordinated approach. Wait, I'll just go back. I've got a bit of a delay in my fix. There we go. The Australian Government Graduate Program, it represents a coordinated approach, providing candidates like yourselves with clear pathways into the APS. We've got lead agencies across the APS that lead 7 graduate recruitment streams, which essentially focuses on meeting the capability needs of the APS now and very much into the future. The structure that we work to stems from a very holistic review that occurred on the public service several years ago. As a candidate, hot tip for candidates, look up a report called the 30 Review. And essentially, if you want to show some awareness and familiarity with the APS and the future of the APS and the direction we're taking, that review was accepted by government, and essentially a lot of the work that we're doing, particularly in regards to talent management, stems from that review, including the AGGP. Big difference here, when we first conceptualised the AGGP, candidates can apply once through a lead stream or through a professional stream to be considered by multiple agencies that are participating within that stream. So for example, if you're a data graduate and you are applying for a role in government, you can apply once. So that's one set of application, the cognitive testing, all that yucky stuff, but you can be considered by 15, 20 different agencies that are after that capability set. So gone are the days where if you're after a government graduate opportunity, you'd have to apply. I think when we first conceptualised this, on average, candidates were applying for 15, 16 different programs. So that's potentially, especially for those people that are stepping through to, a fair way in the process each time, that's pretty time consuming, particularly when you're in the penultimate year of your studies, you've got enough on your plate. So that was certainly recognised by government, and hence here we are today. Important to note that the graduate program was sort of a first step. This coordinated approach to graduate entry pathways was a first step in coordinating all of the entry-level opportunities into the Australian government. So now what was the AGGP is now one part of, you can see in the top right corner there, some of our branding, refresh. It's the Australian Government Career Pathways, so the graduates represent one opportunity. However, we have focus on apprenticeships, internships, affirmative measures pathways, etc. It's a much more holistic opportunity base for entry into the Australian public service. So this just gives you a little bit more information on the streams that we recruit to, and essentially the streams on the left, the 7 streams, they represent the core capabilities. Not all of the capabilities, there's certainly a lot more you can do in the Australian public service, but this is where we're at currently in regards to what we recruit to from a centrally coordinated opportunity. There's certainly other pathways into the APS for a graduate in, for example, the intelligence space, through trade, etc. But you can see here on the left, we've got our generalist, data, digital, economist, HR, Indigenous pathways, and STEM. And then you can see on the right-hand column, the fantastic agencies that lead that recruitment. So these are larger agencies that essentially have, I guess, best way to put it is better capacity to lead large-scale recruitment on behalf of the rest of the public service, so that smaller agencies with smaller, finite HR teams and recruitment officers can focus on a variety of other requirements and responsibilities that they have within their agency. And these agencies take that lead and create those economies of scale and create that benefit for agencies within the APS. We're not spending the same amount of money that we used to. We're investing it in a much more coordinated and efficient manner. And most importantly, we're creating that improved candidate experience. As I said, where you only have to apply once to be considered for many opportunities. So what's the purpose of the AGGP? And I guess what you're really after today is to find out what we're looking for. So for us, we're really aiming to be and maintain a presence in the marketplace as a graduate employer of choice. We're focused on enhancing the experience, as I've said, particularly through the marketing and assessment stages. And then as you move through to offer stages, etc., the Australian Government Career Pathways and the AGGP is coordinating to do this collectively and in a much more streamlined approach. We're looking for diverse talent. Okay, I can't stress that enough. There is some mandatory requirements such as Australian citizenship and ability to gain and maintain a security clearance. However, after that, we're after the most diverse and capable talent pool that we can possibly pull together to meet the needs of the APS into the future. And then culture. We are always striving to improve the culture of the APS. A big focus for us is creating a culture, what we refer to it as a one APS operating model. So as I've described, you're coming into the graduate pathways via a coordinated and central model where agencies are participating with lead agencies working together. So we're moving away from a model where if you come into the Australian Public Service and you go into one agency, then you're an agency employee, such as, you're a defence employee or you're a tax employee. We're moving to a state where you're an APS employee and you're here to serve the Australian people and support the community. So by bringing people in at the front end through a consolidated, consistent and collaborative model, you're coming in via a culture and an approach that is then expected of you and will be promoted around you into the future as a future operating model. So that then creates a much more flexible, agile and responsive public service, which in the modern day, that's what the Australian public deserves and certainly expects. Some really good examples of that one APS approach over the recent last couple of years. So we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had COVID, and all of the impacts on the Australian community. The one APS approach to that has been, instead of Services Australia or other frontline agencies bearing the brunt of all of the claims processing and the support measures, etc., the APS has banded together and created surge workforces and task forces. Graduates in particular during COVID, a large majority were uplifted and were part of what we called the APS 2000 task force. And that was 2,000 APS employees that literally uplifted and parachuted into the Services Australia operating model and were on direct service to the Australian community who needed support through those disastrous events, COVID, floods and fires. So that in itself is a really good way of demonstrating the flexibility and the focus on culture of the future that is agile and responsive. And the AGGP and the way we recruit talent and attract talent is contributing to that, and is certainly an expectation of our new APS employees, such as hopefully plenty of people in the audience today when you come in and begin your career. So just a bit of a few stats. Sorry, I don't think you can get through any PowerPoint without a few statistics. This is just a bit of an indicator of the progress we're making in regards to participation from government agencies. It's not mandatory for government agencies to participate in this model and participate and recruit their graduates in this way. It would certainly make my job a lot easier if I had a big mandatory stick that I could swing around and say, you must do this, but that's not the way we're operating yet. My role is to coordinate amongst all of the agencies that are leading the recruitment and also participating in it. And as Tarania can attest, that can be like herding cats sometimes, getting everybody to work together, play nice and do things consistently and the same. But you can see here, we're really on a positive upwards trend. 2021 intake was after our pilot initiative up front. We had 37 agencies that were keen to be involved. And you can see their applications were at a certain level, 6,000 there for our first iteration, and then a big jump up to 8,500 applications, a huge jump up to the numbers of 1,043 that came in. Our presence in the marketplace via our graduate portal really soared. There was a fantastic outcome, the increase there in the 2022 intake. And we're taking that a step further this year. We've got a much stronger presence across social media, our content updates, etc. So there's certainly a lot more diversity in regards to how we're communicating with talent and trying to attract people to these roles. So what does it look like coming into a graduate year within the AGGP? So I'll just reiterate, the AGGP represents the wide range of agencies that are participating in this program, in this way of recruiting talent. You heard from the ATO, they're a strong participant. They're one of our lead agencies, as well as offering a wide range of opportunities within their agency themselves. So they're an example of a participating agency, etc. But this is just a broad description of what a lot of the agencies out there would look like from a graduate program perspective. Generally, you would come in and have rotations throughout your chosen agency. A number of those rotations will be in your specialised field. So if you're a HR graduate, you would come into general HR type roles. Agencies that are, all of the agencies are fantastic in regards to the way that they focus their attention on graduates and their development. So they'll ensure that there's roles that are there to upskill you in your chosen field, as well as provide diversity of experience and give you a taste of what else is out there across the department. Government departments can provide careers in on themselves with breadth of opportunity. There's also the centrally coordinated L&D through the Graduate Development Program, which is delivered by the APS Academy. Lots of information on that. If you just Google APS Academy, ongoing access to a suite of supported ongoing development. That's one of the things that the APS does, I think, better than anyone, is to support their employees, either through health and wellbeing, or in particular, through learning and development. Plenty of experiential learning. I think if you were listening to the ATO earlier, as well as some of the comments from our opening panelists, the ability for graduates to immerse themselves, ask questions, get access to meetings, get access to senior leadership, get access to opportunities, travel, experiences. It's unique to graduates. The majority of other employees across agencies don't get the experience day to day that a graduate does when they graduate year. And as an additional development opportunity, we're working on a revised model for our service delivery rotations through Services Australia, which, as I mentioned before, the surge work that went on down to Services Australia. So whilst you wouldn't be participating in a surge response, we're looking to enable an opportunity for you to get the experience on the front lines for a couple of weeks as an immersive experiential learning opportunity. And in particular, it's fantastic if you were to go on to policy development or other complex decision-making roles or all sorts of things as you work through your career in the public service. If you've got an appreciation for that connection that the APS has on the front lines in various roles with community, I promise you that would make decisions that you make down the track with policy development, etc., are all the more informed, and just you'll be better for it. So this is where I'm going to step back and ask some questions of Tarania, my colleague, who is a graduate who came through the 2021 Generalist Graduate Program. So she applied for the Generalist program that was led by the Department of Finance. She was able to secure an opportunity as my agency, the Australian Public Service Commission, and Tarania's agency now. We're a participating agency of that stream. And lucky for us, we secured Tarania. Tarania came into the Career Pathways team on rotation. It was quite different to anything she'd done prior. And then we decided we just couldn't let her go. So now she's an ongoing project officer within our Career Pathways team. And to be honest, I'd be quite lost without her. So, Tarania, if you can come off mute. Hello, Tarania.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. I'm going to throw to you. Introduce yourself a little bit better than I did. And just give us a bit of an update on your background, your study, and what drew you to the generalist program in the AGGP.
Awesome. So I studied at the University of New South Wales. So I moved down from Sydney to Canberra for the role. Degree in Commerce and Arts with majors in International Business and Criminology. And I think that in itself is a testament to how broad a scope of interest areas and study areas that the AGGP is looking for. Honestly, any degree, any field of study, feel free to apply because there's a job for you. What drew me to the generalist stream or the AGGP in general is what Craig was saying earlier about one application, multiple opportunities. So as someone who was new to the APS, I wasn't particularly, I'd say I wasn't particularly married to any specific agencies. I wanted that APS experience more generally. So going into that generalist stream meant I was able to do that one application and I was immediately visible by all the participating agencies. And luckily in my place, I preferenced the Australian Public Service Commission and I was offered a role here and I'm still here now.
Fantastic, and lucky for us. I've stuffed up my timings here, Tarania. I've not left us enough time for this conversation and Sam's going to cut me off. So I've got a few minutes left.
I'll talk quickly.
What would be the best advice you would give to our candidates so that they can best prepare for their application and assessment stage?
I apologize if I'm repeating what other people have already said, but I can't stress enough how important it is to provide examples. So when you're preparing your application, when you're preparing for your interview stages, it's quite easy, I suppose, to say I have XYZ skills. I would highly recommend take the time, go back over your university, your work experience, what have you, find very specific lived examples where you can demonstrate that you've shown those skills and that you have those skills. The other thing would be, if you're truly passionate about a career in the APS, just be honest. I think that passion truly comes through in what you say during interviews. And I think it's more about that honesty and that genuine interest rather than preparing any sort of manufactured response that you think ticks all the boxes.
One more question. For graduates that are successful in gaining a grad role by the AGGP, what would you say to them to ensure they thrive in their first year?
This was something that was said to me and my grad cohort first day on the role, and that was to use the grad card. Agencies, everyone that you work with is honestly going to be so happy to help a grad that you can ask any question, put your hand up for any opportunity, and I can guarantee that someone will be there to help you and give you a hand. Like if there's something you're interested in doing, just pop your hand up and say, I'm a grad, I'm interested in doing this. Chances are somebody will slot you in. Same way, if you have a question, ask as many questions as you can. In your grad year, the saying that there's no such thing as a silly question couldn't be more true. As I said, people are more than happy to help a grad. So make use of that grad card during your year.
Thank you, Tarania. Any questions, Sam? Have we got time for that?
We don't, unfortunately, but there was a few questions that popped into the chat. So if you'll be able to
I'll write
type
back
away.
to them all.
Yeah,
Yep,
type
I'll
away.
get typing.
So we've got a question about AGB process. But thanks, Craig. Thanks, Tarania, for your insightful presentation as always.